George de Latour, a painter of hush and shadow, a master of the candlelit interior who transformed ordinary moments into crystalline, almost theatrical scenes. Born in a small Lorraine town at the turn of the 17th century, Latour worked far from Parisian glitter, yet his images, penitent saints, rueful cardsharps, blind musicians, and intimate holy families, speak with a discipline and calm that still startle us today. His light is not only illumination, but character. A single flame that sculpts faces, reveals truth, and invites moral reflection. Whether in the still contemplation of a Magdalene by a guttering flame or the sly deceit of a cheat showing an ace, Latour's paintings balance simplicity, geometry, and a slow, profound drama. In the hush between light and dark, he asks us to look, to hesitate, and to feel. This is the art of silence given form, an art that vanished from memory and was rediscovered to become one of Baroque painting's most enigmatic voices. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps us keep creating more educational videos like this one. Georges de Latour was born in Vic-sur-Seine in 1593 and spent most of his career in provincial Lorraine rather than the art capitals of Italy or Paris. That geographical distance shaped his work. It was quieter, more self-contained, less swayed by the flamboyance of court painting. He served as a civic official, ran a workshop, and painted for churches and private patrons. The result is a body of work that blends devotional commissions like the Adoration of the Shepherds with secular, genre-like images, the card players and fortune tellers, often painted with the same formal restraint and moral undertone. Works such as The Cheat with the Ace of Diamonds and The Fortune Teller show his ability to render narrative with few props and an economy of gesture, while compositions like The Newborn and regional altarpieces reveal a steady, reverent hand. Even when his paintings were simple in subject, they were complex in design, careful diagonals, tightly controlled palettes, and faces that carry the whole weight of the scene. Latour's signature is his treatment of light. He loved the singular architectural light of a candle or a small lamp, what we now call candlelight or nocturne painting, and he used it to simplify forms and heighten presence. Imagine a single flame placed slightly off-center. It flattens space, sharpens contours, and isolates figures against a broad, dark background. This is not merely atmospheric, it's structural. The light becomes a compositional axis. His palette is often muted, warm ochres, deep umbers, cool blacks, and his brushwork is smooth, almost satin-like, erasing obvious strokes so that the surface feels calm and finished. He favored frontal faces and monumental poses, giving everyday figures a monumental dignity. Look at Magdalene with the smoking flame. The skull, mirror, and flame are not props but actors in a moral play. The light binds them together. Across his oeuvre, whether in the Magdalene paintings or a carpenter's shop, Latour uses chiaroscuro not as spectacle, but as quiet revelation. One of Latour's most famous recurring figures is Mary Magdalene, shown in several striking nocturnes. In paintings like the Magdalene with the smoking flame and the repentant Magdalene, he pares the scene down to essentials: a woman, a candle, a skull, a mirror, a book, items that stand for vanity, mortality, and penitence. But Latour's Magdalene is not melodramatic. She is calm, almost stubbornly composed. The light falls on her face and hands with the same unblinking attention, creating an inner intensity rather than theatrical suffering. Some versions emphasize the flame close to the face, others push the mirror into the foreground. Each variation subtly changes the balance between contemplation and confession. These paintings show Latour at his most philosophical. He compresses time and moral argument into a single meditative instant. Viewers across centuries have found in these images both serenity and an unsettling intimacy. Alongside devotional subjects, Latour painted genre scenes that read like moral fables. The Cheat with the Ace of Diamonds is a masterpiece of theatrical understatement. 3 figures, a small table, a single lamp. The composition is spare, yet every face tells a different story. The cunning dealer, the gullible victim, the accomplice whose sideways glance implicates us. Latour's cardsharps are not crowded narratives. They are distilled moments of human weakness and social exchange. Details such as the ace itself, a hand hovering over coins, or the half-seen expressions of bystanders are rendered with forensic clarity. Whether the fortune teller or variations of the cheat, These works demonstrate his capacity for psychological observation, the ability to make a quiet scene speak about trust, deception, and the small conspiracies of daily life. Latour also turned his attention to itinerant figures and musicians. The hurdy-gurdy player, the blind musician, subjects common in 17th century Europe, but transformed under his brush. The hurdy-gurdy player and blind musician are studies in empathy and stillness. He avoids caricature. Instead of showing raucous entertainment, he isolates the performer within the stage of light, emphasizing hands, instrument, and the patient, worn face. The lighting renders textures, the leather, the wooden instrument, the coarse clothing, with a tactile realism that invites touch. These paintings blur the line between genre and portrait. They elevate marginal figures to subjects worthy of solemn representation, asking the viewer to consider dignity where society often offered pity. Religious commissions round out Latour's output. Quiet nativity scenes, Saint Joseph with the infant, and intimate domestic altarpieces. In Joseph the Carpenter, a humble workshop becomes a theological stage. A beam being worked on hints at the cross. Joseph's hands are working wood while the child looks on, an image that folds prophecy into ordinary labor. The newborn and adoration of the shepherds reveal Latour's ability to adapt his nocturnal method to sacred narratives. Unlike the grand multi-figure altarpieces of Italy, his religious scenes are compact and immediate. The light here has a double role, practical and symbolic, illuminating both bodies and ideas. Faith in Latour's world is experienced in close quarters, in soft domestic spaces where miracles feel plausible because they live among familiar objects. For a long time after his death, Latour slipped into obscurity. Art historians misattributed his works, and many paintings were thought to be by others. It wasn't until the 20th century that scholars began to reassemble his corpus and recognize his singular voice. Rediscovery restored Latour to a central place in discussions of Baroque painting and nocturnal imagery. Today, his economy of means, limited palette, controlled light source, monumental stillness, influences modern photographers and painters who seek intensity through restraint. Exhibitions that pair his works with Caravaggio or Dutch candlelight painters now highlight how Latour's method is both deeply French and audaciously simple. One flame, sober composition, and the moral clarity of observation. Look closely, and Latour rewards you with curious details. In The Cheat, the ace is not merely a card, it is a punctuation mark in a moral sentence, often shown in extreme close-up. In Magdalene paintings, the mirror is both object and idea, reflecting vanity while revealing nothing of the soul. Many of his canvases include quietly subversive gestures, a hand tucked away, a falsified glance, an object placed off kilter, that change the whole tone of the picture. Technical studies have shown that he sometimes painted directly onto prepared panels with minimal underdrawing, relying on composition and tonal placement rather than elaborate corrections. These are signs of a confident, almost architectural painter who built meaning through placement and light rather than eccentric detail. George de Latour invites us into a world where a single flame can be a sermon and a quiet room can be a stage. His art is the opposite of excess. It asks for attention, patience, and moral imagination. In stillness, he discovers drama. In darkness, he shows us what it means to be seen. Whether you come for the penitential calm of his Magdalene, the psychological crispness of his cardsharps, or the tender humility of his Holy Families, Latour offers a rare combination: simplicity that never flattens, restraint that never cools, and light that always speaks. If his paintings leave you with a silence that feels full rather than empty, you have understood why generations of viewers keep returning to that small flame.